And we have Nathan with us.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Nathan.
Hey, Nathan.
So you wanted to talk about website security, is that right?
Yeah, well, it's been a while since I've called in about a technical topic and thrown
Sure.
a bunch of technical words at you, so thought it's high time. So, so I have a friend who has a website, and the website has people who use that website, but he's being attacked by a DDoSer. I don't know if you've heard of this.
Yeah,
where it's
DDoS
like
is distributed denial of service attack, which...
Right, so conceptually, it's like you own a mall and someone puts an ad in the newspaper that, oh, there's a free sale going on Tuesday. And then 100 people or 1,000 people try to cram into the mall at once.
10,000
Right.
people,
So then,
yeah.
Yeah, good analogy.
And so I was wondering, a cursory Google search couldn't inform me of whether is there anything that people can do about these. Because I found some websites where people said, I can't do anything about it unless you have $100,000 lying around. And then I saw other websites that said, well, yes, if you do this, this, and this, or if you learn about that, then you can stop it. So I was wondering, what's your opinion as the golden stallion of the tech world?
So that would be me.
Yes.
Of course. That's kind of my nickname going around is the golden stallion of the tech world. And the only, I think, as far as for what everybody could possibly do, okay, there are certain web hosts that take this point very seriously, where they are very concerned about DDoS attacks. There are things you can do, but the easiest thing to do is to check out Squarespace, which they are a past advertiser for the show. And they are kind of the, they're the unsinkable ship, and in many ways they really are, to where, I've heard of literally thousands of people being, sent to their websites to try and take them down, and it just does not happen. So that would be like my initial recommendation.
That's the cheap solution, right?
That's kind of the cheap solution and the timely solution to do that.
So you wouldn't necessarily want to get into setting packet filter rules or tinkering with your firewall or anything like that.
Yeah, WordPress offers some things that allow for that. WordPress is it's a platform that allows you to make websites a little more easier to design them. That is something that could be looked into, and that allows for some of what you just discussed. But I don't know. It's to me.
In general, you want to leave it up to the experts, is what you're saying?
Yeah. We have an advertiser right now, Easy DNS, and I mean, if someone is concerned about like website security, these are guys that you could really talk to. What can I do with, like, say you have your own HTML implementations, because Squarespace really, you don't have to, but generally you use their own themes. It's very easy to use, but if you're a control freak kind of guy and you really want to use everything you've got, all your abilities, I would get in touch with, a group like Easy DNS and say, okay, what can I implement? How can you help me? You want to work with the person who's doing web hosting for you is, I guess, the bottom line of really what I'm saying.
Well, it's interesting since the person is someone who personally dislikes him and is from the Middle East. So I was joking that maybe it's because he hates you for your freedom.
Yeah,
right. That was the impetus, though. Seriously, because since he lives in that country, the police there won't do anything about it. So that leaves only the technical solutions.
Right. Yeah. Now it's a long road really to figuring out like how to do really great, defense against DDoS attacks. I mean, that's why they're so popular and why they're still so popular. Because they work. They work so well. So
yeah, I've actually heard it said that the internet is basically designed in a faulty way, such that that this is basically an inherent flaw in the internet. I
totally agree with that statement, 100%. I think that the internet, in fact, Mark mentioned earlier, MadeSafe, while we're name dropping everybody here, MadeSafe is something that I'm not entirely certain how they would solve DDoS, but it's certainly something that it solves a lot of the inherent issues with the internet, such as servers. In fact, I guess in that way, that's how it would solve the DDoS, is that there aren't servers to attack. You'd have to attack, instead of servers with MadeSafe, you have what's called farmers. And all a farmer is a certain amount of resources on everybody's computer, your laptop, your desktop, whatever. And with that, I mean, you'd have to attack millions and billions of machines. I mean, if made
can't
safe
be done today,
right? So in that way it could solve DDoS, but there are a lot of inherent flaws with the internet, and it's important to keep in mind this is a 50, 60-year-old technology. Absolutely, there's going to be flaws.
Wouldn't it still be possible to do a DDoS attack even with MadeSafe? Because you're still, even though it's not a server, like one centralized server that's serving out the website that everyone's trying to visit, you would still, there would still be some amount of resources that the network is using to serve out that website.
But that's the thing is that when the DDoS, you go to a specific address and attack that entire address and the data on that address that you're trying to access. Mm-hmm. With MadeSafe, not all the data is ever in one place at one time. And so,
does that even matter though? Because if you're just trying to access all the same data, even if that data isn't stored in one place, couldn't you still pull off a DDoS attack?
To be honest, I don't know the answer.
We'll have to see because
we'll have to see.
At this point, we know that the internet is designed in a faulty way. MadeSafe is, if it gets implemented, probably a new evolution in the internet, if it's even going to be called that.
Certainly. Yeah, that would be an improvement. So, I think it's a great point to bring up, Nathan, that the internet, or the World Wide Web, as it were, does have some very serious flaws. So was there anything else on your... Go ahead.
Oh, well, I just wanted to follow up to Stephanie's point that I was reading an article about them, and it looked like a lot of the attacks do kind of rely on there being one address to attack. Kind of like if someone orders 100 pizzas and then sends them all to Mark Edge, that wouldn't really work for multiple.
He'd eat them, but yeah,
it might take them a little while.
Somebody delivered a pizza to me once that I didn't order. I
that's
felt
illegal,
bad.
By the way.
That
really?
May be true, but I was like, I didn't order this pizza.
Did you send it back?
And the driver's like, oh no, he was really disappointed. I'm like, what kind of pizza is it? And it happened to be a pizza that I found tolerable, so I paid for it and kept the pizza.
Any other thoughts, Nathan?
No, that's all. Thanks, and have a good night, guys.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you for your thoughts. So I think it's a really interesting point that not a lot of people really want to discuss, because I think with so many arguments, and this happens in liberty arguments or liberty conversations too, it's like, okay, fine, then governments are the problem. What do you put in its place? And a lot of times people don't have an answer, and I think the internet can easily be said. A lot of people could say, like I'd mentioned earlier, Steve Gibson even said that the internet is really a scary thing. What do you put in its place? Some people have answers, some don't, but most people are just terrified to even ask. But I think it is important to have some kind of an answer. MadeSafe is one. I mean, you could go back to BBSs, these bulletin board systems that used to be very popular.
Nobody's going back
90s.
To BBSs.
I don't know.
There's always going to be ways to attack any kind of technology.
That's a fact. You're right.
It's totally true. If a new technology comes up that's resistant to DDoS attacks, there'll be some other vulnerability in that.
Yeah, and certainly I think the elephant in the room when it comes to internet security that a lot of people don't talk about is the U.S. government itself, or governments in general, because they, for their own needs, quote unquote, and for your protection, quote unquote, they keep all of these zero-day attacks. They're flaws that you don't know about in the system, and they keep them for themselves, but in so doing, they make the entire system insecure for everybody. And so really they're working against you.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.